Hello everyone, welcome back to another Fallout 4 building tutorial, where today we are finally building in the vaults. Now, the vault is going to be a huge build for me. I'm going to basically fill it to the brim with stuff, as I mentioned in my announcement video. It's going to be filled with everything. I have so many plans for the vaults, so I can't wait till we get started. The first thing I'm actually working on is the outside, however. The entrance. When I first saw the vault, I didn't like that there was two entrances to the vault, so I sort of wanted to close one off, and I originally, in the vanilla game, I wanted to do that with a wall, but I wasn't able to, so now I finally can, and I add these sort of counters here, and what this area is going to be is a sort of check-in area, where you could check in some of the stuff you got, maybe while you're out scavenging, or maybe in the first days of the vault, when the bombs first fell and they were accepting people in. Maybe you brought in a suitcase of stuff, and they wanted to make sure that there was no hazardous materials there was no prohibited items, maybe there was no, something that didn't have any radiation on it, or, didn't have any leftover background radiation, so to speak. So there's basically where they do that, and you'll actually see what I'm going to do for this in a second. How I turn this around here just because the snapping point for the security fence is a bit weird, but I'm adding the security fence just so no one can really jump over the counter, as you see there, and it's sort of windows there. I want to add a sort of way that maybe you could close the windows manually, but that'll be in a later build and probably won't even be shown until the final build. So, as you see here, I'm getting it in the specific spot. You need to get in a specific spot or else it won't turn out really good, but generally that's what I added, and as you see there, I sort of add the windows, and that's where you check in your stuff. That's where you bring any stuff. Maybe if you're out scavenging from the vault, and you come back in, that's where they bring in some, and you bring in some pre-war stuff. You want to make sure that none of that pre-war stuff is hazardous, is irradiated. You want to make sure that none of that stuff could, for all you know, you could bring in a potential gas canister, and that gas canister, once you open it, could release a deadly virus, So that's where this is where they basically make sure none of that stuff is, hazardous. I would also imagine it's sort of like a job in the vault where you're given something called outside work duty, and you're given a couple of weapons and you're sent out to scavenge the wasteland for some stuff, maybe trade with some people, and hopefully bring back a couple more stuff that you could use, that the vault could use probably to repair, or for repairs, for scrapping, for more building. So here I'm adding these conveyor belts because I saw these scanners and I wanted to take advantage of it. I didn't want it to be like you would manually have to put this through a scanner one by one, and you would manually have to scrub it down and clean it. I wanted it to be sort of that it would be put through a belt, sort of like in TSA and like the airports, where you put it through a belt and there's probably a computer nearby that shows that there's no radioactive materials in it, that there's no hazardous materials in it, that it's clean to use and safe to use. And that's what those scanners are for. So that's what I have them there for, and that's why I have the Decontamination Arches there as well. That's there. I'm actually going to put that there in a second, but I recommend building the conveyor belt first and then moving to the Decontamination Arches. I just put them there first so I didn't have to go get them again. I put these vault tables here because this is where everything gets unloaded, and where other workers will dry everything off and, probably scrub the maybe nooks and crannies of it all and make sure it's still not irradiated, where they can examine it and make sure you're not bringing something potentially hazardous into the vault or a prohibited item into the vault. So, as for the lore of this vault, I generally think it's going to remain the same, only the fact that I do have a lore idea for the vault, like a roleplay idea for the vault, but I won't reveal that till later in the final tour, because it's going to be a big final tour. Probably, I'm thinking now, like, probably 5 parts of a final tour, but who knows, honestly. So, yeah. It's going to be... I just haven't thought of a good lore reasoning behind it, so I'm generally gonna... I have some ideas, but I just, I don't want to reveal them yet because I don't want anything to be final. Here I'm actually getting these jail doors, and you'll see what I'm actually going to use this for in a second. I figured that maybe in the beginning days of the vault, in the first couple of days after the bombs fell, when they were still accepting people, maybe some people had suitcases of stuff. Suitcases of stuff that, and that they would turn in, and then maybe if they were told that some of the items in the vault, some of the items that they have are prohibited in the vault, maybe they might not be as understanding and might get a bit mad or angry. So they would basically be put in here for, just to calm them down and tell them why it's not allowed in the vault. So this is not only what I'm turning the security room into. This isn't going to be this is going to be here in the final tour, but this isn't going to be the security room, the whole security room. I'm also going to add some showers in here because maybe someone comes in irradiated and they don't want to scrub down. So that's where they're kind of put there till they decide to scrub down from the radiation and get some of the radiation off them. So, in this screening area here, I decided to add some of these security fences here as well, mostly because I wanted there to be sort of like a funneling effect to it, sort of like a bottlehead effect. I'm going to keep this. I like this a lot. I just wanted it to be a bit more of a tighter space where they can accept people one by one, and not necessarily everyone just rushes in at once, because I would imagine that's pretty unsafe, and you never know who's going into the actual vault, So, here I'm putting these rubber floor mats to sort of help suggest, like, hey, you should probably go this way if you don't want to get shot, because I figured security here is also going to be pretty tight. You're actually going to see in the final tour that I had some barricades that help suggest, as you see the barricades there, that help suggest, like, the proper way to go. As you see, I had some of the pre-war military barricades, as well as some of those metal barricades. I had some turrets, but there's a placeholder. That's going to be there in the final tour. There's going to be turrets, but they might not be in that exact position. Here I'm coming to the back room here, which is the security room, and I added the little jail cell, which isn't really meant to be like a final jail cell for holding someone. I'm definitely going to work on it a lot more, on the security room a lot more. And then here's the sort of area, the check-in area. I'm going to activate some of these decontamination arches, and I'm going to basically show you guys what I decide to do. I'm going to show you guys how this is really, how you would basically go about checking in some of your items. So maybe you would check in some clothes that you would find in the Commonwealth that you figured maybe could be used, and some medicine related items, some food maybe. So here you're going to put the clothes on, the belts, and some of the beer. There we got a blood pack, and then we got a blood leaf over there. I figured probably the blood leaf wouldn't be allowed in the vaults. And then, as you see there, the outside is scrubbed and has gotten wet to get rid of the radiation. I'm actually going to turn off the arches now. And it all gets sort of dumped onto this table, where they would probably scrub the nooks and crannies, dry it off, make sure it's still not irradiated, and examine it to make sure it's safe to be in the vaults. So anyway, that was pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Take care.